Hi, this is Imran from iTradeAims.com. Just wanted to show today's trades. This is M5 at the moment. Let's suppose you started at Frankfurt Open and we were around here. You'd receive this red dot. At this red dot, it just broke below an Ames level. So the dot itself has already broken, so we don't have time for putting a pending. And since we always trade on pendings and a break of Ames, we'll wait for an Ames level. At the end of this candle, this Ames level would have been confirmed. We put a pending here. Had you put a pending here, it would come all the way here and stop you out either here or somewhere here, because you will close on the green line. It came before the blue dot. Let's suppose we had a minus 15 or a minus 20 on M5 to start the day off. This red dot, as you can see, is against the open alligator, so this red dot is basically the end of this wave that started here. So this wave going up closes here. We don't take a trade here. You could have taken it, but it has moved around 53 pips all the way here, so I wouldn't take this because this Ames level is too tall. And then had you waited nicely, you would have received an Ames level here. Now on the blue dot, it had already broken out, but then it had closed inside Ames. If you were watching it, for example, then you could have taken this before the dot, but I would not recommend doing that. AO had not crossed zero line. It was close to zero line, and it had not crossed it properly. Had this blue dot had arrived here, then this would have been nice and juicy. But if you took it just before dot by assessing the setup, remember the dots are not on its own like a mechanism. They are a mechanism. I mean, if you want, you can use it as to make it completely stress-free, is to trade only when a dot is inside Ames when it comes, and so that you get time to check all the rules. Alligators are sleeping and AO slow to zero line. You would have gone long. Suppose this dot was here, for example, and we went long. You would have trailed candles or closed on the dot. So if you close on the dot, you would probably won't get anything, nothing lost. Or if you trail candles, you probably get 20 pips out of it. So let's suppose we got 20 pips from here. We recovered this. Well, there's no comparison of recovering or anything, but this is one trade and this is another trade. But since we are trading or taking all the trades on the dots, probably we missed this one. Then comes this one. Now here we have a red dot, and let me bring a little bit down here. When we use F12 key, if you use F12 key on your platform, it shifts bar by bar. It goes bar by bar every time you press. So let's suppose we were here. Some people might think that this is where the alligator might have been. This is not where alligator was. Alligator blue line is shifted 8 bars into the future. So I'm gonna press F12 7 more times because one is already there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now these candles were not there. They were not present. But at the end of this candle, your alligator blue line was here. To find out where the red line would be, and this is how, if you want to do back testing on alligator, the only way to do is to put your crosshair where the close of the candle is, and then as you can see, these numbers that change towards the left, before the slash, that's the number of bars. So when I move left here, that's 54 bars, and the one in between is basically the count of pips with a fraction of the pip. So if I count here, that's sorry, that's about 25 pips and 36 candles to the left. So if I count here, that's 8 bars and 2 pips at the moment to the right. And since red line is 5 bars, this is where the red line would have been. this place, and 3 bars for, or 3 candles to the right is for green line. So this is where green line would have been. Now this is some kind of a sleepy alligator, but not really ready. But at this candle, things would have changed a little bit. Let's go 1 candle forward. This is where your blue line would be. This is where your red line would be. And this is where your green line would be. Kind of setting up. So if you had gone short here, this would be a little bit earlier. Alligator has not slept properly, but it was asleep because the lines were intertwined. And let's suppose we went short. If you did go short, you would have either closed at the break of this Ames, because obviously you will trail your stop loss with Ames level. So this would have either given you a -3 or 0 or something like that. But what's interesting is that after all this, and you had remained patient and taken just one more trade on this red dot here, when the alligator was open, price, the green came and touched the red, and AO was close to 0 line, and you had entered here and then started trading it, by this time you would have trailed the candles. If you had trailed candles, you would have closed this for about 94 pips. That's exactly what I did. Although later I was regretting why I basically trail candles, but you can't get it always right perfectly. And if you waited for a blue dot, then you would have closed this trade for 150 pip. So we didn't really lose anything here on M5, but we got a 150 pip trade, and that's it. That would be the end of the day. But now I'm going to go to M1 and tell you the story of M1, what M1 would do. We're going to start our day from the same Frankfurt Open. This is that Frankfurt Open around here. As you can see, we have red dot, alligator is asleep. Around this area, AO is close to 0 line, you go short here. And that's it. If you followed blue, you'll make 10 pips here. Whereas on M5, you went short and you lost -20. Now here you have a blue dot that's, change of direction. And then after that, you have a setup too. Around here, alligator would be 8 bars to the future here. This is what the alligator would look like, open alligator. If you had gone long, you'll take another 9 or 10 from this. We don't have to take this because it's already there and alligator hasn't really slept. And here, if you had taken long, for example, this would have closed you for -2, -5, not a problem. Here, if you went short, that would be too early into a trend. Don't recommend that. Here again, if you had the red dot is already out of alligator and AO has kind of gone old. That's what I call, when AO crosses the 0 line, I count this. I want it back to the 0 line here. And when it came back to the 0 line here, this is a perfect saddle point. You have the dot, these little dots on AO. This means AO is at the 0 line, right? And alligator is asleep. Now let me check. It's going to be around here. So your alligator was looking like this. Around this blue dot, it was like this, and around these candle, it was like this. So you had a nice tight Ames levels, just 7 or 8 pips. Go long here. We went long here, close on red dot. That is your 35 pips. On the M5, you didn't even get a chance here. So we're already doing around 45 or 55 pips. Let's suppose we didn't take this because we thought this was a third wave and this was a corrective wave, so we didn't. But if we did take it, let's say we're -5, -6 here. Not a good trade anyway. Here's where, by the way, when the purple line is introduced, it's going to stop you from trading into these corrective waves at all. And then around this area, we received another beautiful saddle point, right? And this is that area on M5 that we went short. I'll just put a line there so you know. That's the first one. and on M5 you'll go short here and get a -10. But let's see what happens on M1. M1 gets you in here and gets you out on the blue dot with a nice 20 pips. I think I counted something wrong earlier here. That's 27 pips. Yeah, it wasn't 35, it was 25. So yeah, it was 25 pips, let's say. So we're already doing like 35 or something like that. On M1, there hasn't been any major losers. And then price goes sideways. Here is where you might have gone long if you didn't have the purple, but if you had the purple will stop you. And the purple will be released in its time, don't worry. All the buyers actually are going to be emailed, hopefully. And then if you were watching this, you would have taken a short here in anticipation of this. Now this is a bit tricky because the candle totally came on the other side, but if you're watching the market and this was saddling here and you had already seen this wave, you'll be anticipating into going into the fifth wave. And most often when price doesn't move too much, which is like 30, 40, 50 pips, if your third wave is around 30 or 40 or 50 pips, your fifth wave is going to be smaller than that technically. But most often, if it is a trendy day, or if it is going to turn out to a trendy day, 40, 50 is never a third wave. Most of the time it's just a 1, 2. So this would be your 1, and this is your 2. So you'll be anticipating going into the fifth wave, and if we did, you'll go nicely. And if you trail candles, you'll get out with 35 pips here. But if you waited for the dot, then you'll get out with 114 pips. And if you add it on just one more time, that's 115 and 71. So that is like 180 or 185 pips. So when I say, is it possible to make 50 to 150 pips a day? Yes, it is. It is. It happens all the time. And then again, if you went short here, there would be nothing, -5, -6. And here, probably on blue dot, that would be 30 or 20 pips or something like that. And that's it. After that, you don't trade. And that's what it is. That's all. Thank you.